Alrighty, last year, Instagram removed the number of likes from their users' posts in an effort to spare users from uncomfortable feelings such as inadequacy, jealousy, and the like. But did it have an effect on their mental health? Welcome to our live stream, folks. My name is Candace Taylor, and I am the Community Relations Coordinator here at BizIQ. And just like I said, our topic today is about social media and mental health. Now, I have a little bit of social media knowledge because I do the social media for BizIQ, and my special guest here is also our Senior Manager of Social Media. So we got lots of social media stuff for you. However, I just want to give a huge disclaimer that me nor Mr. Esposito here are mental health professionals. So while we are talking about social media and mental health today, we are talking from our own experience and our own, understanding of what works best for us and the things that we've done through our social media trainings to make sure that our mental health is protected. So thank you guys for tuning in today, and thank you to our returning guest and a personal favorite of mine. Can you please introduce yourself for the newcomers that may be tuning in and what you do here at BizIQ?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. As always, happy Friday, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Andrew Esposito. I am the Senior Director of Social Media here at BizIQ. What that means is I oversee both the paid and organic social media side of things here at the company.
Yes, and we're talking about mental health today. So give us a little intro. What do you think social media and mental health kind of have a hand in hand? What do you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I definitely believe that in certain cases, social media does have an adverse effect on one's mental health. We'll dive into things more specifically, but it's definitely something that should be managed, like most of your internet usage.
Yes, because anything can be a little addictive if you do it too much. But I first want to give the mic back to our audience. Here I am, handing it to you guys. Do you guys have any questions about social media and mental health? Drop them in the comments section right now. And as we kind of go through, I'll be keeping an eye out to make sure that we can answer any questions for you guys. But the first thing I want to talk about today is social media addictive. Well, think of it like this. Social media is basically like a slot machine for the dopamine receptors in your brain. So every time your phone lights up with an alert or telling you, hey, check out this memory from 10 years ago that I dug up, that is the slot machine pulling its little, honestly, I don't gamble dingleberry and kind of seeing what comes out of there. So it's definitely something that gets you a little addicted there. But what do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, absolutely. Social media is incredibly addictive. We are all looking for what Miss Tyler said, that dopamine rush. We want the slot machine to come up on all sevens, right? So it's one of those things of having that adverse reaction of logging onto your social media platform of choice and seeing that little notification icon, right? In the past, I've managed Facebook pages that had 200,000 people on them. So every time I went on there, there was a new notification, comment, like, share, etc. And, that little hit happened where I'm like, oh, more stuff, right? People are liking the posts, people are engaging with them. And again, that's all fine and dandy until it stops. And you log on one time and there's nothing there, or you post something and it doesn't get the engagement that you were hoping for. Now you're in a situation where you're like, wow, wait, why is this not performing? Why is this not working? What did I do wrong? And that definitely has a negative effect on one's person.
Yes, and that's what I like what you said about how there's more stuff. Like, there is more stuff, and I love stuff. I try to live like a minimal lifestyle in my personal kind of how I set up my home. But on my phone, I think I have like over 20,000 pictures because it's more stuff. It's my secret way of hoarding. But one of the things I want to talk about is how social media affects us. In another lifetime, I took a social media break, and for about 9 months, I was just off of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of them. I was not on a single one of them, and it felt good. And it got to a point where like I didn't even feel like there was anything missing, you know. For the first couple of days I was like, oh man, what am I going to do with my time? But after I found something else to like fill that slot, I didn't even realize that I missed it until I went back and I saw all of my friends whose lives I had missed out on, because I didn't even realize that while social media is just, you know, that engagement and kind of dopamine rush from it also helps us connect to our friends. And so there was a friend who had a whole entire pregnancy and had a baby, and I didn't even know about it because here I was off of social media. Now, during that time, I kind of felt a little sad, you know, like I had missed out on some things. But Andrew, give us your thoughts. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's definitely that fine line. I've been fortunate to live all over the country, right? So I have friends in different states, and you want to keep up with them. And the easiest way to do that is through social media. That being said, the people that I truly want to keep in my life, I have their contact information, right? So send them a text, tell your family you love them, send your friends texts, see how they're doing, especially after these last couple years. So that being said, I personally don't have any social media because I spend way too much screen time as it is. We live in this remote world where we're working on computers all day, and then the rest of what you do during your daily routine, that like to add more of it through social media is not something that, I want to do right now.
Yes, I am impressed that you don't have any social media. Like when I hear that from people sometimes, mostly males, not gonna lie, it just impresses me. I'm like, wow. It's almost like a museum exhibit or something. Like we're walking up and I'm like, and in this corner, we have Andrew who's never had a Facebook. But anyways, kidding around. Let's talk about some social media and body image. Now, I'm not sure if you know, because like you said, you're not on social media, so maybe you just, you're under a little rock here. But there is an app called Facetune, which has been super popular on social media. If you're not aware, Facetune is an app that basically takes away all your blemishes. You can pay a little bit of money and polish up a picture so that you almost look not recognizable. What do you think about social media and body image?
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard of Facetune in the past. It's always wild to see pictures, of people who use Facetune, and people have to remember that that's not normally how people look, right? Me Facetuned, I look like Channing Tatum's twin, where in real life, I'm more like a Danny DeVito, Chris Farley-esque type. So it's always funny to see like Facetuned people, and I'm like, I don't think that's what they look like in real life. But this just goes back to that adverse effect that social media has on people, right? Because you're looking at your friend's Instagram, and they have their six pack, and they're in Maui, and they're staying at a 5-star hotel. And it's like, that's great. I wish that was me, but people have to remember that it really is just a vertical slice of somebody's life, right? Miss Tyler, myself, the people watching this, that person that's in Maui on Instagram, they're all going through battles that you don't know about. They all have their own lives, right? And it's not always 5-star hotels in Maui, and it's not always, I haven't had a macaroon since 1995, right? So people have to remember that, because I think that's incredibly important, because, especially impressionable people, and we'll talk about adolescents moving forward, it's hard when somebody who's younger, they see these people on social media and they feel like they're lesser because that's not what they look like, or that's not how they're living their life, and things like that. So I think it's dangerous in that aspect.
Yes. And talking about comparisons, another thing that really just kind of goes hand in hand, or I've seen at least, is social media and depression. Because if you are a sufferer from depression, a lot of times it can feel like the world's just beating up on you from every single angle. And social media is this other one that, I don't know, a lot of people didn't see coming. And it's really easy to look at that vertical slice of somebody's life and then look at what you're doing and feel inadequate. But definitely a reminder that, like Andrew said, this is only a slice, a tiny, tiny picture into somebody's life. We all have challenges. We all have things that we're working on, dealing with. And sometimes not all of that makes the public Facebook page. But what do you think about depression and social media?
Yeah, I think it's very important conversation to have. I think that depression can come from anywhere, any which way, and anything can trigger somebody to have a depressed episode. I equate it sometimes to being like a punching bag, and the punches come from all over the place, and that's a outdated boxing reference, but so I think that part of it is social media, right? We mentioned it earlier, but seeing something that might not fit into your life can set you off and, not affirm that your life is as important or things like that. And I think that's very dangerous. And I also think people need to remember that, especially if 2020 and 2021 has shown us anything, right? It doesn't matter. It's all fake, guys. Like, it's all built on a house of cards. Like, look at what happened these last couple years and how, so many things needed to fall in place just to get us back to where we aren't even yet.
Right.
The world is very different today than it was, heading into 2020. And I think that's a very important reminder to people that just because, you might not be where you think you ought to be, that you're doing something wrong. And I think that's very important to remember.
Yeah, and also remember, if you feel like you're not where you're supposed to be or where you want to be, that it's going to change. All you have to do is give it time. Situations change, life changes, everything is constantly moving and constantly transforming. So if you're not in a great space right now, I promise, just give it time. You'll be in a different place in 6 months from now. But
Absolutely.
another thing I want to talk about is social media and influencers. Now, I know some people have their like favorite influencers out there, their favorite influencer families. And sometimes when you're following these people, you can feel like you have a connection with them. But it is important to realize that this is an only one-way connection. They can't hear you. They can't hear what you're thinking, feeling, all of that great stuff. And it is their job to get you to feel like there is a personal connection, because that's how you buy their products and services. So their influences are advertisements, and just be very, very cautious when you're watching these people and how you consume their information. But Andrew, what do you have to say?
Yeah, absolutely. It is the Wild West out there when it comes to influencing on social media platforms. Even though the FCC has cracked down on influencer regulations, like what they have to say, do know that for the majority of things when you're on social media, you are being targeted for something, whether it's an influencer organically targeting you with like, the person in the background, or, from a digital marketing company, the many, many ways we can target people through, paid social media ads based off demographics, income level, hobbies and interests. Know that if you're on the internet, you're probably being sold something. So I think that's important to know. And again, like I mentioned, it is crazy out there because companies are going to pay big, big dollars for, a spot on Kim Kardashian's, Instagram feed, right? Because of her 100+ million followers on Instagram. So it's definitely something that's, interesting and unique, but very similar to how we talked about for the rest of this show so far. It's like, you have to know that it's it's just like a face that people are putting on, right? It's definitely something that you have to be mindful of.
Mm-hmm. And speaking about data being sold, I want to talk about social media and our adolescents. Now, many social media profiles do require some sort of age requirement. We want you to be at least 13 or 17, just because the algorithms can be so, what's the word I'm looking for? Like salacious almost, especially to these young minds who are impressionable. And it's just really important that, for me at least, that we protect our adolescents, because they are impressionable and these advertisements can make them feel one way or another. Just a little anecdote, I was recently hanging out with my nieces, and they're at a super fun age. They're like 13, 12. So like, a little teeny boppers. And we were doing some TikToks together. They're way better at it than me. But we were also watching a lot of the YouTube channels that they watch. And I was a little hurt and disgusted because it was similar children to their age, but they're trying on bikinis and they're like, oh, I look so fat. And oh, I'm going to tell all of these insults to my friends while she's in a bikini. And it was all for fun and games, but it was just like, this is what we are watching? Can we not watch something better? But what do you think about social media and adolescence? Uncle Andrew. That's my new name, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned, it's one of those things where it has to be in moderation. And while these companies have, you know, gates in place for people to be a certain age, as pretty much everybody who's used the internet knows, you know, everybody's birthday is January 1st, 1920, right? It's very easy to sign up for something or get past those age gates, and it's pretty easy to prove we're a human, with captchas and stuff like that. So, but I think it's very, you know, I think it's a very scary thing, right? And you know, when we talk about social media, we don't just mean like the biggest platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and things like that, right? You have to take video into account as well. And a lot of people are on TikTok these days, but more importantly, YouTube, you know, and they do a decent job having like a YouTube Kids app and things like that. But, you know, if you're not monitoring what kids are watching, the algorithm will play crazy tricks on you where one minute you're watching a Peppa Pig video and the next minute you're learning about conspiracy theories for 9/11. So it's a very weird dark hole to go down. So, you know, I think with social media and adolescents, the most important thing there is to be a responsible parent and just, you know, I don't want to say police what they're looking at online, but have an, you know, be engaged and make sure that, you know, if you see anything that's a little bit crazy, or use parental controls on some of these apps and devices and stuff like that, to just make sure that they're not getting into too dark of a hole, right?
Right, like we can watch crazy cat videos, but let's stay away from the conspiracy ones, you know? Cats doing silly funny things and like falling, we could do that. But I do want to talk, just change it a little bit and talk about some 4 ways to fight burnout, especially when it comes to social media and your mental health, because it's been a little bit of a downer, I will admit, Andrew. And so with you and we got to turn that around. That's not like us. So our number 1 tip is don't respond right away. You know, if that little alert pops up on your phone, maybe give it a second. Maybe put your phone away. One thing that I do during work is I can't have my phone in the same room as me because it's just going to go and I'm just going to look over and see what's happening. So one thing that I do is I try to keep my phone in the kitchen. Even when I'm going to sleep, I charge my phone in the kitchen just so I like almost absolutely have to have that space and that distance between us. What do you got, Andrew?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I completely agree with that. You know, I know that if you're a brand on social media, that you're going to want to respond to comments, things like that. But, you know, people need to remind themselves that even brands, like, it's a human being behind that, right? So if they don't get to your question right away, or it takes a day for them to ask somebody, right? Like in the sales department, if they have something in stock or things like that, you know, please know that people are humans at the end of the day, and they're trying their hardest to do these things. But yes, you know, it has to be right for you.
Do you want to go into our second tip?
Absolutely. You know, our second tip is leave it at work. You know, I know that's a very hard thing to do, especially for people who are like social media managers and things like that, because it's a never ending flow of content, right? That's one of the biggest things with social media, is that back in the day when a news story happened, people fixated on that news story for a while because that's how they got their information now, right? But with social media, it's just a never ending stream. So, you know, if something happens at 9 a.m., that's a tragedy. By 4 p.m. that same day, they've moved on to something else. So so you have to be it's imperative that you just leave it at work, right? If you're a social media person, I would recommend not putting the apps on your phone. You know, like just doing it all at work and just leaving it at work. I think that's valuable advice for anybody in any job, is leave it at work. Don't take it home with you, because it will have an adverse effect on your life.
Yes. And our third tip is try face to face instead of screen to screen. One thing that's been a little challenging for us going remote is just communicating with other departments. Like previously, when we were in the office, it was like, oh, well, let me just walk over to Candace's little department here and see what's up and talk to her. And now it's like, well, let me spark her. Oh, well, now she's on her 15-minute break. Well, now I'm at lunch. And it's just really hard to kind of get that connection. But as often as you can, we recommend that you pick up the phone. Don't just text it, FaceTime it, maybe get a Zoom call going, as personal as you can, because that way your message is going to be communicated in the best possible way. Do you want to talk about our fourth and final tip?
Yes, absolutely. Our fourth and final tip is cull your digital herd. You know, Miss Tyler, you spearhead that one.
I know. I'm sorry. I looked at it and I was like, oh, well, that is a little Candace there. But what I mean by cull your digital herd is cut down on the profiles. Do you need a Twitch profile, a Twitter profile, an Instagram profile, a Facebook profile, a Pinterest profile? I don't even know, a WhatsApp profile. Like, you don't need all of that, guys. What I do is I don't even go on Twitter. I don't have the app. I know I could be, but I realize that, hey, Facebook and Instagram is where my money is. And so let me just make sure that those apps are on my phone, and anything else I don't really need. I don't need the extra alerts coming in or the more stuff that I can look at. I got enough stuff to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. Like I said, I don't really have any social media. I have a Letterbox, which is an app that lets you rate movies that you've watched. It's not really too crazy. So, but other than that, I don't care about what y'all think. No offense. It's like one of those things of just like, it's like I had a ham sandwich today, and like the third comment down is like, what a dick. I can't believe he chose ham instead of bologna. It's like, okay, who's winning here? Like,
yes,
what are we doing here?
Yes, it's all a competition. But Andrew, my friend, you have entered the hot seat. It's a little warm. It's a little warm today. Do you feel it? Because I'm feeling it.
It's Arizona, so it's always warm.
This is true. But we're getting a little cooler. We got some storms coming in. Do you have storms on your end?
Do you have storms? Be in that perfect weather.
Yes. Do you have storms on your end though?
Yes. Not as this morning. It was more so than now, but it was nice to have a little bit of rain.
Yeah, little showers. Anyways, all right. So first hot seat question: who was the best dressed at the Met Gala?
Oh man, she kills it every year, but I absolutely love Rihanna. She's a trendsetter, and like I just love how she looks every year. And again, a little over the top, but again, I guess really that's what the Met Gala is about. But I loved Little Nas X's outfit as well.
Oh my gosh,
really cool. And again, I really feel like that's what the Met Gala is for to stand out and be bold and do that stuff. So it's really cool to see something like that.
Yes, Lil Nas X is my favorite human being on the face of the earth.
Yeah, he's great, and his new album just came out. His first album.
I know. I'm so proud. Okay. Talk about one-way relationships with influencers. Me and Lil Nas X are best friends, but it's different, okay? It's different with us.
Fair.
Now, next hot seat question: art museum or history museum?
Oh man, that's a great question. I like art more, but I think it would be more interesting to go to a history museum. It's just depends on what the history is, right? I feel like we keep repeating the mistakes of the past. So it's like, why do I have to go to a museum when I can see it on social media?
Right, like look out the window.
Yeah, right. So, but an art museum would be great. And we have some great ones here in Arizona.
We do. We have a Van Gogh. The words are never mind. Anyways,
combine the two, the MIM. The museum, I forgot what the MIM stands for, but it's like a music museum. So it's art and history.
Yes. Now, next question: planning or winging it?
For work purposes, planning it. I like to be organized. I like to be on top of things. I like to make sure, meeting agendas, things like that are ready to go. Personal life, wing it. like I said, it all doesn't matter. Life of cards, right? So, what are we doing with friends? Doesn't matter. Let's just hang out and have fun and enjoy each other's company.
Hannah Montana or Miley Cyrus?
Miley Cyrus.
Right.
I mean, who doesn't like Hannah Montana? But like I said, Miley Cyrus has gone through a lot of phases, but she's great.
Mm-hmm. She's on an upswing, I feel like. Now, are you a food sharer or do you not share your food?
Oh, absolutely share. I'm a big share person, right? So if somebody wants something, absolutely, for sure. Now, if there's only enough for me, then no. Yeah, food share for sure.
Nice. And crunchy peanut butter or smooth peanut butter?
I am a crunchy peanut butter person, basically because I like to feel like the peanut butter. That was a weird sentence when it came out. But like I like the crunchiness of crunchy peanut butter, and I feel like it's more of a meal than smooth peanut butter. Now, not throwing shade at smooth peanut butter though. I love smooth peanut butter too. This is like an A minus situation we got going on here. So fan of both. But like I said, I feel like I'm eating more when I eat crunchy peanut butter.
I can respect the eating more part. However, we're taking it to the comments because you and I don't agree. So if you are a crunchy peanut butter crunchy peanut butter, give me some emojis. Actually, yeah, like spell out crunchy peanut butter in emojis. Let me see what that would look like. But if you are a smooth peanut butter lover, spell out smooth peanut butter in emojis. We'll see what comes up. But that is a wrap for this week, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you, Andrew, for tuning in and having some funs and laughs with me. It was great.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I did want to say one more thing before we head out. Is we spoke about depression on the episode today. If you ever have those feelings, or if you ever feel like you need to reach out to people, please, please, please look up the resources and talk to somebody. They will listen.
Yes, 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 because you are so valued and loved here. Alrighty, folks. I will see you next week. Ta-ta for now.